This book was born from lived experience and from a deep knowing that there is a better way to live than what we have been told. We've all been handed the same story of success. Grind it out, check every box along the way, and push yourself until you've made it. And then maybe someday around 65, when you can retire, you will finally get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. But that story is so outdated, and it's what keeps people stuck. You don't have to keep buying into that story. You can choose to live your life now, not waiting for some moment far off in the future. My own transformation didn't come from rigid routines or endless hustle. Trust me, I tried that and it didn't work. My transformation came in very subtle and nourishing ways. The small choices that felt good in the moment. The things I chose because I wanted them. Over time, those choices shifted everything. That shift is what led me to start sharing my stories authentically. And as I did, people began to see what was possible for them too. They felt emotionally connected to the emotional stories I was able to depict. They understood what it was like to live that life on the hamster wheel, but then what is possible when you step off. They didn't need to abandon their careers or relationships to feel alive again, but they did need to start stewarding their own energy and their own attention. The impact was undeniable. As I started doing more of this coaching work and speaking and workshops in corporate America and sharing these authentic human skills that we can all build in order to live more sustainable lives that actually feel good on the inside, not just look good on the outside. Clients, friends, even strangers just kept saying the same thing. You need to put this in a book. It will help so many people. At first, I'll be honest, I resisted. The idea of writing a book felt like climbing another mountain, and there's been many. But when my husband Craig joined my business in 2024, I suddenly felt that the space and the capacity was there for me to finally commit to this project. I had seen the same pattern in so many people that I once saw in myself. People are burned out, living by expectations that no longer fit them, and they're exhausted. Many believed that choosing what mattered meant sacrificing their ambition or blowing everything up that they'd already built. But that's not true. And I wanted to help people understand more fully what it takes to live a life that makes them feel whole. What if you could live based on your internal energy, not just the external markers of success? What if you could feel in control of yourself, no matter what comes at you? What if you could be more honest about your choices without guilt or resentment? That's where I Can Fit That In was born. It is about alignment and remembering that you can fit in what matters because you do have a choice and because you own you. The writing journey for me began in Vermont, a quiet home in the mountains that Craig had found for me to go and relax in peace and get connected to my highest self. Surrounded in nature, I spent days ideating, mapping ideas into bubble diagrams, and tapping into old loves of literature and creativity. It was there that I had a very deep meditation on my second morning in July, where I felt my father's presence. I felt healed parts of my childhood coming up for me to see them in a new light. And I realized that some of the stories I had buried were actually ready to now be shared. It was in that meditation that all of a sudden I heard a thud next to me, and a Luna moth was sitting there in stillness. Later, I learned that it symbolized transformation, renewal, and a trust in the unseen. It was so fitting for the very book that I was writing. That encounter confirmed this book is not just my metamorphosis. This is about everyone who gets to read it. This book is written for the reader. It is written for your journey. That Luna moth eventually became the heart of my book cover. And that, along with the scissors, really encapsulate what it means to fit in what matters most, because we have to remove what doesn't. From there, the writing came in waves, 5,000 words at first, and then on a second trip to Vermont in September, that is where I poured out 48,000 words in a single stretch. 1 week, fully connected and in flow. I wasn't fully confident though in what I had written just yet. It felt a little incomplete and almost too polished. My editor at the time confirmed that I had more work to do. So next in February, I went to Sedona, where I realized I have been writing from my head so far. And while it was definitely impactful and it was my truth, writing from my head meant that I was allowing the words that hit the paper to be solely what I thought people needed, not necessarily what I felt I needed to release from within myself. Now I needed to write from my heart and from my soul. That meant scrapping most of what I had written and starting fresh. It was really hard. It was certainly one of those ugly crying moments where I had to just regroup. I remember feeling like, do I really have it in me to keep going? This is such a difficult project, and I was telling myself that I had to start over completely. 85% of the final manuscript that I then sent in after that 4 days in Sedona was new. It was more clear. It was more revealing. It was even more authentic than I had initially written in those prior months. With that, the core message of this book crystallized. Stop performing and start living life from the inside out. Stop gripping so tightly. Stop worrying so much about what others think. The very things I teach and I talk about are the very things I have experienced over and over again in my own transformations. Every chapter in this book, every reflection, every practice comes from presence and truth. It is not about productivity hacks. It is not about cramming more into your day. Those days are over. That is old news. This is about choosing more wisely, moment to moment, day to day, week to week, etc. And no, I didn't do this alone. Craig gave me the space, the love and the energy behind me in order to bring these words to life. My publisher, editor, and strategists, they all stood with me through the entire journey. My friends supported me. My clients have been a huge part of what has allowed me to share stories in this book that are relevant to you as the reader. Writing this book stretched me in ways that I could never have imagined. It was not just about words on paper. It was about courage, alignment, and evolving into the version of me that could share this story honestly from my heart. When you read this book, I want you to feel that you can make space for a life that truly feels like yours, that you can choose yourself over and over again without guilt and without apology, that you can fit in what matters because it gives you the energy to show up as your best self in work and in life. The truth is, the world mirrors your energy. This book is a mirror too. If you practice what is inside, your mind, heart, and spirit will begin to move in the same direction, onward and upward. That is alignment. Peace does not come from doing more. It does not come from how many things you can check off. It does not come from yet another routine that hacks you into a more successful day of checking more boxes. It comes from alignment with who you are. I can fit that in as your permission slip to reclaim your energy, to choose with intention, and to create a life that sustains you, not drains you. Do this because you matter. Your life matters. You are not here to just exhaust the days and then leave the planet. You're here to shine. You're here to serve in your unique way and to bring your gifts fully to life. I can fit that in will help you understand and gain clarity of who you really are, how you live in alignment with that truth of who you are, and how you share those gifts.